me crazy. Never got your name, but you got me begging. All I know about you, you like to pick and choose. Make it all about you. Go take it all if you want. Taking the chance, stuck in my head, not gonna leave it at that. Taking the lead, feeling your heat. Just wanna give you my best. I don't even know your name, but you got me. 'Cause you're old to die. We don't know what happens next, but you got me. 'Cause I'm next in line. You make it look so easy, making me feel so dreamy. Not the one who pays for drinks, but you got me. 'Cause you're old to die. Got me locked in now. Go ahead and take a shot. Do you really want me? Maybe you're just playing. The way you're making it move, yeah, you do it so smooth. Make it all about you. Can have it all if you want. Taking the chance, stuck in my head, not gonna leave it at that. Taking the lead, feeling your heat. Just wanna give you my best. Taking the chance, stuck in my head, not gonna leave it at that. Together to not give myself the pressure. I don't know what to do with this. Should I let him go? Go. I don't know what to do with this. Should I let him go? Go. I fall for his eyes when he's staring into mine. Know he's bad for me. So what's standing in my way? He's out of my league, I feel insecure, but I hope this is real, yeah. He doesn't mind at all, he want my juice like he does whatever while he feels for nobody but himself, no, yeah. He doesn't mind at all, he want my juice like he does whatever while he feels for nobody but himself, no, yeah. Pull myself together to not give myself the pressure. I don't know what to do with this. Should I let him go? Go. I don't know what to do with this.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode on the 5F's to Love Network. Tonight, is Real Talk with the Men, and we're going to have a real conversation about how to tell someone, you're not very happy with them intimately. And that's a real conversation. Well, intimacy and sex, those are two different things. We're going to talk about that too, because sometimes the intimacy part is good, but then the sexual part falls short. So we're going to have a larger conversation around a few things. So you guys know I'm about to bring the guys in. So Matt, how are you doing? All right, so we're having difficulties with Matt, so we're going to go with Cedric while Matt is working on his Wi-Fi connectivity. So Cedric, what's been going on with you? Because I got a couple DMs. They were like, where's Cedric? Your little follower.
This thing called life and the pursuit thereof. Yeah, so just grinding and just making things happen. Yes.
All right, and I'd love to hear about that. All right, so Brian, how are you? How's Florida?
Wet. Wet. That's how Florida is.
Great answer. That can go a million ways.
It sure can.
Really, Cedric, we just started before we bring Galen on. Galen, how do we equate weather with the whole body? I don't even know how we do that.
I like that.
What can I say? Okay, thank you so much for that. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How about yourselves?
I'm doing outstanding. Okay, so we got somebody new. We got Ishmael with us tonight. We're going to call him Ish. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Guys, I just want to see if this is your first time watching. Ishmael has transitioned from a viewer to coming on to the cast and joining the conversation tonight. And I'm really excited because this is a little different. I think being on this side, Ishmael versus the other side, is going to be a totally different experience. But you're going to have fun.
I'm sure of it. I had fun last week, so I'm sure of it.
Okay, so before we start this bigger conversation, I want everybody to know the reason why we're having this conversation is because the hardest thing to do is to communicate to a person any type of indifference you feel about them intimately or sexually. But the bigger conversation is when it comes around men's health. So before we get this started, I want everybody to understand you've got to really focus on, if you're with someone, how to support them and how to support a Black man and talk to him about his health. So we'll be right back after this quick, what I call health break, before we start our conversation.
We know what you made of. I do better offline, yeah. I've been calling to a guy. I'm in tune with the signs. I'm just trying to let go. I'm just trying to be me. I'm just trying to do fun. Moon landed with the elevation. Armstrong with the levitation. My third eye needed calibration. I was heat rock when I notated. I've been going crazy. Stone face when I kill beat. Leaving no trace on location. Premeditated. Hey.
Okay, guys, so we're back. So that commercial was basically an infomercial on prostate cancer, which is one of the leading causes of our Black males, medical issues. And so our conversation today is, I'm all about having real conversations, and everybody who knows me, I think we're just going to go right into it. So in segment one, we're going to talk about men's health. The first thing is I'm going to come up and I'm going to ask you guys, did you know this? So did you know approximately 40% of African-American men have high blood pressure? Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
What number did you think it was, Cedric?
I don't know, just high.
Just high. You thought it was high.
I mean, because COVID exposed how unhealthy Black people are. They was dying.
Okay.
Preconditions. Yeah.
All right. So what about you, Brian? Did you know it was at 40%? No? What about you, Ishmael?
I didn't know the exact number, but I knew it was high. And
Okay.
actually, I thought it was higher. Actually, you know.
You thought it was higher.
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought it was higher.
What about you?
I didn't know. I didn't know what the number. I just it's not something I just looked up. I know that as a people that are everything that is reflects poor health, we're number one on the list. So, just in general. But I didn't know the percentage. I know we're number one about everything that you can measure: cholesterol, blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes. You go right across.
Stress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Stress related. Every area.
Fair enough. Here's another. Did you know? Did you know that higher incident rates of erectile dysfunction amongst African American males stems from inherent factors of lifestyle choices, like, I don't know, us not working out, not eating well. So do you guys know that that's a contributing factor to erectile dysfunction?
Absolutely.
And Cedric, are you laughing because you're startled, or you're like?
No, I'm not startled. This is what I expected. The question was just funny. The question was just funny. I mean, a real question. Trust, a real question.
Okay.
But, yeah, but how do you get that answer? Because most of our will be afraid to ask.
That's true. So here's the questions, because I like to do the did you knows. So the answer is really funny, is that erectile dysfunction can be a warning sign to heart disease or other circulatory issues that may, right? The other thing is, the other answer is most commonly reported causes of erectile dysfunction are heart disease, obesity, and high blood pressure. Those are major. So, and I want to say, because of the way that we're raised and the type of food that we eat, I think that's why we're at a higher rate in numbers. So here goes your first question. Now that I've given you guys some things to kind of whet your palate about what we're talking about, here's the first question. What percentage of men are affected by ED? What percentage do you think that is? Not African-American men, just men in general. And I'm going to start with you, Ish. What number do you think that is?
I'm going to say 30%.
30%. Okay, Brian?
65%.
Okay, Galen?
I'll just go 50% because I have no idea.
Okay, Cedric?
40.
40? Okay. The answer to that question is 50%. 52% of men experience some form of ED. 52%. Next question. What age group in men do you think are affected by this most? What age group? So give me an age group. And Cedric, you're laughing, so I'm starting with you. What age group is this?
I would say late 50s, 60s.
Okay.
Late 50s, like mid 50s and 60s. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, Brian?
In the 40s.
40s? Okay. Ishmael?
I'll say 50 and up.
Okay. Galen?
I would say the same, 50 and up.
Okay. The answer is ED decreases from about 5 to 15% between ages of 40 to 70. 40 to 70. Okay. Our next question is, what is the percentage of men over the age of 40 that have ED? What do you think that percentage is? I didn't say African American men. I just said men in general.
I would say the same percentage. I would say the same. I said 40.
40? Okay. Galen?
I would still say it would be somewhere in the 50%, but it's skewed because you gave a percentage of 52 earlier, and that would have included all the exceptionally viral men that were in teenage boys. So that was skewed. So it could be higher somewhere, mid 60s potentially.
Okay. Brian?
50%.
Okay. Ishmael?
I would say greater than 55%. 55, 60% now.
Okay, you guys are very close. It's 50% of men over the age of 40. 50%. Okay, so now that you know those stats, what are your thoughts behind what's really happening as far as intimately when it comes to men's health? And do you think men understand that there's a correlation between the two?
No.
I'm just saying you guys are all men.
Well, but the thing about it is, they're different type of guys. I mean, you can't just like you just can't say there's one type of woman. There's different type of guys, and they're guys who do a better job of taking care of themselves, going to the doctor, getting their checkups, exercising, watching what they put in their bodies. All of those things matter, and I think, and then we start doing things like, are you bringing like weight into the conversation? Because those type of things, the more weight you carry in your body, the more, and this is not me disrespecting anybody that's overweight or obese. It's just, it makes it harder to be able to maintain a better health when you're carrying more stress in the form of weight on your body, which is more stress on your heart, more stress on your joints, more stress on your lungs, more stress on everything. It makes a difference. So most guys are not in the space to where they're, I'm gonna say many guys are not in the space to where taking care of their physical body is their top priority, unfortunately. And we see the same thing with our ladies. I would love for you to have these numbers next week for women, by the way.
I want the numbers next week. Okay, I'm
next week.
So the question is, and I had this conversation with my guys, and I talked to you guys about this individually. But I think a lot of times when you hang out with your male friends, this is the conversation that never comes up. Because a lot of them are having problems intimately in their relationships with their spouses, partners, or whomever, and they're not saying anything.
Why would they?
So no, but the thing is, because you're all men. So my question is, why aren't you guys talking about
men don't talk like that.
We have difficulty.
I got a problem with my, what I'm saying? With my thing? No. Can you relate?
We have difficulty
you got problems too, bro? Yeah, no, we don't talk like that. I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but we just don't.
Okay, so Ishmael, what's your thoughts?
We as black men have a lot of issues in terms of how we communicate. We can't even say I love you, I love you, brother. So going into that space, we're not even ready for that conversation. We can't have the simpler conversations about showing love, and we still, grit on one another walking down the street, so we're a long way from having that conversation, unfortunately.
Well, Christine, I think the problem comes into play is the unsaid thing.
Okay.
And the unsaid thing is in a country. Let's just talk about United States citizens, because I want to talk outside the context of what I know. In America, for black men, historically, racism has been on the neck of black America, and black men viewed a particular kind of way. One of the ways in which black men, some, not all, but many, through the generations, have had a sense of strength and power and worthiness was through their ability to be pleasing to women, pleasing in bed. Just, I call it in the church world how the person who is the lowest paid person at the company shows up at the church and he's a deacon with the best suit on or whatever. Like, it gave him a sense of pride, a sense of dignity that he didn't get when he went out into the world as a black man. So then when a guy is bumping into the one of the things that makes him feel as though he's a man is compromised, that's a difficult conversation. Now, I do know some guys that in my circle, we trust each other enough to, if that was a real conversation, we would have it. It would not be an issue, but that's a level of trust. It wouldn't be some random. I mean, you got to be closer than close, like closer than close for that conversation.
I'm not telling you about my Johnson.
Yeah. And the other thing is, most guys are not going to be in a space where they're going to be sharing that they can't please their woman.
Exactly. Okay, so the question is, so let's say you're having this problem, and the person I'm going to ask this question to is Brian. If Brian is in a group with you guys, Brian does stuff every day to ensure that he's healthy. And that's just it's just his health overall and the way he approaches things. But the thing is, you don't even know that he's doing this because you're not sharing that you're having problems. And then how can I say this? It's a domino effect. So now it's impinging on your relationship with your spouse or your partner. And it's like, now you're frustrated with work. You're frustrated sexually. I mean, it's a big conversation. So Brian, you're the guy in the group that I know that does all of these things to make sure that, one, you're healthy, but number two, you really focus on your sexual health, what you do every day. Can you share some of the things that you do?
Yeah. First of all, a man may not talk to another man about this issue. And if you have someone, I have friends that I can talk about certain things. I have other friends I can talk. I got friends I can talk to about different things, different guys. I have two guys I can talk to about that very thing. Not a problem, man. I have an issue there, man. What can I do better? And because a man know it ain't getting up. Come when the woman says here, you ain't pleasing me, that's gonna hit the man in every area. He's gonna be frustrated at work, gonna be frustrated at home, be frustrated with every kind of thing. Because if he ain't doing what he needs to do in the bedroom, there's a problem everywhere. Everywhere. And the thing about sexual health, there are things you can do. There are foods, there are herbs, there's vitamins.
Can you give us some of the foods and herbs before we go to commercial break?
I'm gonna give you one of the number one things off the top. You ever heard of ashwagandha?
I'll take that.
Ashwagandha comes in a pill, but it also comes in a powder form. It's more potent if you take it, maybe I can't remember the measurement, but maybe a little teaspoon of it and put it in some hot water and drink it like you drink a tea. Potent. Black ginger. You ever heard of that? From Thailand. They've been using it over in Thailand for over 1,000 years as medicinal purposes, but it's a big time aphrodisiac. It has other benefits as well. Drinking that is in a tea form as well. Celery, spinach, eating raw, cutting out all that salt stuff, cutting out fried chicken, boiling it, baking it.
Hold on now, bro. Going too far. Hold on now. I was with you for a minute now.
Let me back up the fried chicken. You can fry chicken, just use coconut oil.
All right. There you go. All right, okay.
Cut out the
Okay,
canola
compromise.
oil. Cut out all that other oils, Crisco, and all that kind of stuff. All those things will clog your arteries. Coconut oil is one that can be used for anything. It's good for your internal as well as for your external. Use
Right.
So when it comes to sexual health, those ashwagandha, black ginger teas, ginger, all those things.
Maca root.
Maca root. Yep, all those things are really good because it's like this, along with exercising and moving it, exercising, getting in cardio, eating right, a lot of vegetables. Those things are tremendous. You'll go from not being able to get up to getting up too very much, and then that'll be a real problem. When the wind blowing, you already up. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Chris, number one.
So look, I'm gonna
number one, Chris.
You know what?
Chris, number one.
All I can say is whatever. Brian, you got a shout out from Anish. She says, sounds like Brian needs to get into what is it? Nutritional supplement business. And I agree with you. He probably does. Brian is really smart in that space. So guys, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. When we get back, Brian, I would love if you can share some of that stuff with me, and I'll be sure to share it in a post so that men can have some access to some resources to help them if they're not going to the doctor. And guys, listen, I know you hear a lot about me saying the first thing I ask is, does a man's penis work? This is real talk. I really care about men's health. It's not about that. Because I have so many guy friends and I love them so much and they're so important to me. And that's why we're having this real conversation, because I want to make sure a part of relationships is making sure that every person is whole within themselves. And that's one of the things I learned from Galen. Two people don't make a whole. You have to come in as a whole. And if a man is not great with himself in that area, especially a black man, it is going to be a problem in a relationship, and it's going to play out in a lot of different ways. So we just want to make sure you guys are good, and we'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
Can't get you out of my mind. Oh baby, every curse like a new adventure, pulling me into the center closer. Yeah, baby, I'm not playing around. I mean every little word. I can't get you out of my mind. Oh baby, every curse got me going crazy. Can't control it, cannot see it all. Man.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 5 F's to Love, Real Talk with the Men. Our conversation tonight is how to tell the person that you're with. I don't know, we might be having some issues. But before we get to that conversation, we're going to continue to talk about men's health and related issues pertaining to being able to, satisfy the person you're with. So the thing is, I always and Cedric, I'm so afraid to see what you're going to say. I'm glad Warwick is not on tonight, because we would just end the show right after this segment. But so in segment 2, by the way, if you missed segment 1, all of the natural care remedies related to men's health, Brian's going to share that information with me, and I'm going to do just a live post just on that. so you guys can look at that and gain that wealth of information. So if you are having problems with your health wise, with your erections, these things should work. Brian has used them multiple times, and I trust his judgment. I don't know because I don't have that body part, so I just gotta go with it. Okay. All right. So listen, are you telling the truth? Now, the only person I'm giving a pass in this segment is Reverend Galen. The rest of you answer. The only person I'm giving a pass is Reverend Galen because he is a minister and his prior life does not pertain to sex. We cannot go back. That's right. Now you can comment at the end, Galen, if you like, but the rest of y'all answer these questions. All right. Have you ever lied to a woman just to have sex with her?
So look, you mentioned my name before. So before I answer that question, I have to ask you a question. So you're erectile dysfunction. So you know all these male friends. So do you know if when your male friends come around you, do they have erectile dysfunction, or do they get hard when they're around you?
Okay, so I'll take this question off so we can answer that question. So the answer to the question, Cedric, the answer to that is no.
No what?
I'm not aware. No, I'm not aware because
you don't know.
my guy friends. So I want to be clear.
Okay.
All my guy friends are platonic guy friends. So no, I wouldn't know that, and I don't think they would ever share that with me. But if
they're not sharing it with you, that's why they ain't sharing it with their brothers. That's why the same thing.
Oh, okay, that they're attracted. Okay, well that was
that's good though.
Question. But I'm just saying, no, I don't think anyone's ever shared that with me.
And yes, I've lied to get it.
Okay, so the question is, have you lied to have sex, Cedric?
Yes. When I was younger, of course.
You lied. Okay.
Of course. Like,
what
you're
about you,
beautiful.
Brian?
I care about what you're saying. I'm listening to you. I'm joking.
You
but
said
yes, I'm
listening to you, but you weren't really listening.
No, I just wanted to hit it.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair. Okay, Brian, what about you?
No.
You never lied?
He's lying now.
Hey. I probably did some things when I was younger. When I came
he was too slow with that shit. No.
Oh, yeah, when I was younger,
we're not saying right now, Brian. We're just saying at any point.
Oh, yeah, way back, yeah.
You lied. Okay,
Yeah.
so what about you, Ishmael? Back in the day, did you lie to a girl?
Well, I never lied per se, but I wasn't to have sex, but I was never really fully honest, about my.
You lied.
It was like that.
You lied.
I mean,
that's what it is.
You're trying to
I guess I lied.
But,
I wasn't, I wasn't real. I wasn't honest.
Okay, you wasn't real. Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. So right now, at the ages you are now, what do you think about men being dishonest, still doing what they did in their 20s and 30s? They're doing it in their late 40s, 50s, and 60s just to have sex with women. What do you think about that?
It takes two. They're going for it.
I think a lot of it is fear. When I lied to protect myself because I was fearful. But if I were to be single again, I wouldn't lie. I'd tell the truth, because I don't have any fear. She either going to accept it or you're not.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Either you're going to accept it or you're not. And I think a lot of that in a relationship is built around fear. People do things even when they're married because the fear of what that person may feel or think about them. Married relationships, long-term relationships, you're fearful. So you tend to hold things back. Okay, well, that's interesting. Next question. Have you ever told a woman you had a great night, that should be night, and never called her again?
All the time.
No. I never understood that about guys.
Okay.
I was always an outlier in that respect. I never got that.
Okay, so Ishmael, you've never done that.
No. If I did it one time, I won't do it again.
Brian, Ishmael, why does Brian look like he's thinking about it?
I am thinking about it. I'm thinking about doing it or not.
Say again?
And he's sitting over there like he's thinking, have I done this? Or have I not?
I'm thinking.
Have you ever done that, Brian? Have you ever told a woman you had a great time and you never called her again?
Yeah, I think I have. Because I did it, and I was like, you know what? Why did I do that?
Okay, so that's my question. Why did you do that? Why? So the question is not why did you? Why do men in general say to a woman, "Oh, I had a great night," and never call her again? Why don't you just tell her this sucked and I'm done? It's a wrap. This is the end. Why not just tell her? Why not tell her as you're leaving her home with your shoes in your hand?
Okay,
it's over.
Because the question is like this.
I misunderstood the question. Sorry.
That's why.
So
for real. That's why. For real.
That's what. The thing is that if you were upfront with her, then she would stop calling you and you wouldn't have to block her. Right? I'm just saying. The question is in general, why are men dishonest and they sleep with a woman and say, "Oh, I had a great time. We had a real connection," and then they never call her
because you guys can't handle the truth.
So basically, you're being.
I just want to hit it and go. I don't want to call you no more. Whatever. It was fun for one night. Not all the time now, but pretty much it's like, okay, I'm not really trying to date you. If we say that, you gone. So we lie, play it off, in and out. And y'all fall for it all the goddamn time.
Okay, so what about you, Brian? Do you think men do that to not get into a major conversation?
Yeah, they do it tonight. Yeah, exactly. Okay. But I ain't never had that too. I'm just gonna come in and just get in the hotel. I never thought like that. I mean, afterwards, I'm saying to myself, why did I do that? Ugh, bad idea. Bad idea. Okay,
you're saying so afterwards you're thinking like, why did I do that? But in real time, the reason why you did it was because you didn't want to hurt her feelings.
I don't remember if that was what the case at that point in time. I don't remember. But
all right, so woman's feelings was not taken into consideration when all this is happening.
Well, no, not at that point in time.
Not when you're on a mission. Not when you're on a mission, no.
Okay. All right. So then, go ahead.
Okay, I'm not gonna get in my personal business because again, I don't just represent me. I represent.
Yeah, you can't weigh in, man. No, you can't weigh in. You are qualified, man. No.
Okay, I'll keep my opinion to myself. Then, no problem.
Okay, so this is our last.
I'm trying to protect you.
Got it.
All right, so this is our last question for this segment. And again, I wanted the questions to be uncomfortable so you guys can answer honestly about things. So women have a clear perspective of what a man's thinking when that happens. So have you rushed through a sexual experience because you were dissatisfied with the woman's appearance? No. So Brian,
these questions are crazy. I love it.
No.
Okay.
Never have.
So Cedric, let me ask you a question. Why do you think that was crazy? Because the reason why I asked that question, because I'm asking you questions because those three questions are questions that women often ask one another about why did this happen? And
so the question is, have we rushed through sex because we didn't find who we was having sex with attractive?
Correct.
No, I don't do that. No, I'm into whoever I'm having sex with, so I would never do that. No.
Okay, so here's the example. You met a person, you were drinking. It was nice when they came out in light. Well, the light, not the light, what's the name? But it was different. And everybody's been in that situation where you meet somebody and under that blue light, they were gorgeous. But when you get them home and you look at them, you like it's a totally different light.
That's the one you never call back.
Hey, that's like that movie, More Money.
You never call her back. Yeah, I'll call you. Yeah.
Let me say
that. That's her.
A lot of guys that I know, they have this mentality, and I never really understood it, even as a man, that if they got it too quickly, they would not savor it or take it seriously. I didn't care how quickly I got it, but a lot of my friends, they met a girl and they got it quickly. She was cut off the roster. You know what I'm saying? I was never like that, and I was never a one hitter quitter kind of person. So I was always an outlier with most of my friends in that respect. But a lot of men, if they get it too quickly, they just don't appreciate it.
Okay, so you hit a valid point, and that's what I wanted from those questions. See, women oftentimes don't know or understand who they're going out with. They could be going out with a character like Ishmael that's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal if I hooked up with you the first night, versus somebody else who may be like, if I hooked up with her the first night, it's a wrap. Like, I'm not really interested with her. So from your perspective, Galen, when couples come to you and they say to you, oh, I met him that first night and we hooked up that first night, do those relationships last long or they don't last long?
Well, I haven't really had a couple tell me point blank, we hooked up the first night, etc. Okay. I've had some of these conversations with people, but just from the observation of those type of things, what I would say is a couple of things. Because I, as a teacher of metaphysical principles, I always go back to consciousness. All right, what is it in me that's attracting these type of people, one way or another? Because I meet no one but me. Okay, so if there's a situation and circumstances I'm engaging with, choosing to share my body with someone, am I paying attention to my intuition? Am I looking for red flags? Am I stop? Am I paying attention to yellow flags? Slow down. Because I believe that everybody has an internal wisdom that allows them to function in the world, but we dumb it down because we want what we want. So if you allow the passion and the moment and you know, and hearing Jodeci sing in the background stop you from paying attention to your own inner guidance, you can end up engaging in something that you're not clear about. Two, even having conversations. If a woman is seeking to share a body with someone and they haven't put any stakes at it, in other words, who are you to me? What are we? And then you engage with somebody and then they move on. It wasn't any clear communication about what this is in the first place. So what I don't go for, and we just had a show about this yesterday, is just going straight to the victim mode. There's a responsibility to what you do with your own being, and that includes your body. And when you don't take responsibility for what you do with your body and it goes awry, yes, the person shouldn't have did this. Yes, the person shouldn't have ghosted you. Yes. But if sharing your body means that to an individual, that these other things got to be a part of it, then that should be communicated on the front end. Now, can a guy lie? Absolutely. Here's the thing. When people are honest, they know that there's normally something in them that says, don't do it. And they still do it.
They still do it.
And then they'll say, something told me not to do that. My first mind told me not to do it. And then they do it anyway. So I'm always going to go back to 100% responsibility for what I do. As you know, my motto from Gary Zukov, I take responsibility for the choices I make and the consequences they create. I always go back to that statement, regardless of who it is.
I love it. And folks, we're going to be right back after this commercial. And Cedric, while we're in commercial, can you please turn off your volume on your TV? I would appreciate it. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
Get it that I'm never going back. Get it that I'm never going back. I get to it first, I got you mad. I guess that when I get to it last. Get it that I'm never going back. Get it that I'm never going back. Going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up. Get it that I'm never going up, going up.
Tasting so sweet, acting so rude. Won't you tell me what I'm supposed to do? Yeah. High and low, in between, acting out, make a scene. Working on our body language, working on our body language. Baby, now tell me exactly how you feel. I'm just trying to or two legs. I'd like to dream. Keep on dreaming about us, baby. Yeah. Now tell me exactly how you feel. I'm just trying to keep it real. Let me love you on the inside. Love you on the inside. Tell me exactly what you mean. You mean everything to me. Let me love you on the inside. Love you on the inside.
Okay, guys, we're back with Real Talk with Men on the 5 F's to Love. So, guys, now we're just going to have an open conversation about what can you say to a woman when you are sexually satisfied? Like, how do you tell a person, I like when you did that? Like, this worked. I mean, it's Cedric, your last, because I don't even want to hear what you have to say. I need you to focus. So, Ishmael, what would you say?
As a married man, it's easy, obviously, because you have like that open dialogue, you can communicate. But when I was single, I mean, I really didn't care what they liked it or not. I mean, I just did my thing and I, kept it rolling. But so I think as a single person, it might be kind of difficult, or you might not even want to have that conversation. I know personally, I really didn't. I know I was good, and even if I was bad, I really didn't care. My goal wasn't to please you at the time. My goal was to please me. Now, as a married man, it's different, obviously. But but back in those days, I was just trying to hit and quit. Not hit and quit, but hit and continue to quit.
All right. So what about you, Brian? Well, Brian, he talked about the transition from being single to married. What about you? Is there a difference when you're married versus when you're single? How you communicate that to your partner?
Yes, I think it's the same. I think it's communication is key no matter what. You tell the individual what you like, what you don't like. I mean, it's getting to know one another, getting to know the likes and dislikes. It's all communication. Communication. Even in that, how are you supposed to know if you don't tell them? And I've never been the kind of man that's all about me. I mean, I think about the woman more so than anything else, because I think if I please her, I look at a woman like a damn coal engine. You get her revved up, you get her nice and warm, everything gonna run nice and smooth. But if you don't take care of her, I mean, I'm feeling like I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. I mean, that's where I've always been. So. That's me.
Okay, what about you, Cedric?
I called them back.
You what?
I called them back. That's how I let them know. That's how I called them back. That's how I let them know that I was pleased. I called you back.
That's how they know.
Yes.
If they get a call back.
Yes. You exist. You around. We doing our thing. Yes. I gotta tell you, come through.
Okay, so one of the things I'll share with you. So as a woman, I think a lot of times I hear this from a lot of different women. This doesn't really pertain to me, but they say that they're waiting for the man to tell them what they like and don't like. And I think a lot of women are willing to do what pleases the man. Now, have you guys found that to be true or not true? That when you tell people what it is that you want, they're open to it or they're not open to it?
Married men have always populated strip clubs. That's because the fantasy intrigues them and they look for that. They don't get it at home. A lot of women like, I'm not doing all that. He see me naked. Okay, well, in the beginning, maybe, yes. After a while, it takes some creativity, thought, and effort or whatever. So a lot of times it's on the lack of what she's doing.
Okay. All right. That's valid. Brian, what about you?
Hey, telling a woman what they like, or a woman telling a man what they like, it should be all around, boy. It should be open to be talked about. But truthfully, a man likes a lady in the street, and everybody loves a freak in the bedroom.
Right.
Okay, so this is the question. What if a woman shows you the freak too soon because she wants to be in a committed relationship with you? What do you think about, because her timing is off? Maybe she's thinking, I gotta show him this side of me so that he can see that I can be this person, but it was a disconnect because maybe it wasn't good timing.
What's too soon? What do you mean consider too soon?
What I mean is there too soon for a woman to show you the freaky side of her?
It's all organic. It's all organic.
I mean,
it's all organic. It's spiritual.
Hey, what the Bible say, Galen? What the Bible say, Galen? When you're married.
Let me out of Brian.
You better not say no. You better not say no. You better not say no.
I know the word now. When that door is closed, you're married. Hey,
you're obligated.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good.
You know, I think it's a generational thing too. You know, when I see these kids today in their 20s and 30s, they're saying doing things that I didn't say when I was their age, or I didn't get involved in. You know, so I think in our generation, maybe we have a little bit more difficulty in terms of communicating. But these kids today, they put it all out there. You know, so I guess if you're out there dating right now, you shouldn't have any problem communicating because these women are really upfront about what they want, what they like, and they don't have a problem telling you. You know, so. I think it may be somewhat of a generational thing about being able to communicate.
It's not just Ishmael. It's not just a generation thing either, and I agree with that. The other part of it is this is the first technology generation. You know, so for instance, my generation was the generation, the guys, everybody on this panel to a certain extent, we grew up with the VHS. Let's keep it real. Grow up with the VHS, then the DVD. So the people that were born in the 70s, late 60s and 70s, were the first generation to grow up with instant access to what people didn't have access to with before, as far as seeing visually, you know, porn and things of that nature. And now you have a generation, a second and third generation that grew up under that, where they can pick up their phones. And you say, well, my kid can't do it. Yeah, but his friend at school has a phone. Right. And her friend at school has a phone. So the ability to just keep things, hypersexuality, away from children is much harder now. The problem comes into play is hypersexuality without any sensitivity. So you have people who are willing to do all type of things with their bodies and feel almost nothing. So, you know, the psychological implications of that probably still haven't been really figured out. That's for psychologists to do. But when you start dealing with people who are now in their, you know, 20s and 30s, and they're talking about wanting to be in a relationship, they have to deal with that on top of watching most of their parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles go through divorce. So the idea of love and intimacy and sex and all those type of things going together has been something that has been separated from society for quite some time.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so they're like, I'll please this body aspect of me, but I don't expect to have intimacy and love and all of these other things that go along with it, because even the people that matter to me the most couldn't make it work.
And that leads into my next question. Do you think, and thank you, Galen, for that input, do you think that people's expectations sexually is disjointed because of what they can see or seen or experience with someone else? And here's an example. A really, really good male friend of mine, going into relationships, he thinks that it should be a continuation of his last sexual experience. He doesn't warm up to, this is what I like. He just goes into, this is what I'm doing. And that concerns me, because maybe that woman is not at that level of the last woman that you were with. So it can't be a continuation. And I think that's where I think a lot of people get diluted in their mindset about, this is what makes me happy sexually, so I'm just doing it kind of thing.
Well, that guy's just, and I say this with all love and due respect, because it's a friend of yours, is more concerned with dominance than he is with engaging with another human being in a mutual experience.
He's a Neanderthal.
Yeah, so exactly. So he might as well just be having sex with a doll, because when it's all said and done, it's no compassion, it's no understanding, it's no touch, it's no whatever. It's all it's like a dog humping on your leg.
and so women, I want you to hear what Galen just said, because I think a lot of times women misconstrue that with, oh, he's open with me. he's vulnerable to me. No, he's just basically pleasuring himself. So the question to you guys is this: do you think that now people have a skewed understanding of what intimacy is about because of the openness that we have and access to sexual information? Versus before, all we had was the Playboy magazine. We had some little Ebonies and stuff, some Jets. We didn't have all this.
It's all individually based on what you are and how you roll. You'll find whatever you need to satisfy yourself. So there's no one way that they're doing it and to do it. So the thing is just be equally yoked on multiple levels when you're with somebody. If not, you like trying to put a square into a circle, it ain't gonna fit.
But do you think people have unrealistic expectations because of the access that they have?
Yeah.
I'll say the young people do.
Oh, boom. Yeah, some do. Yeah.
I think people our age had a chance to process, like you said, we're the VHS generation, had a chance to process, real from fiction, and you know what, you're willing to accept or what you're willing to do. But I think the kids today don't. They're a little skewed in their perceptions of what reality is because they see so much. Like this new song that's out now. I mean, like
information overload.
Yeah, like I'm in the process right now trying to figure out how am I going to raise my son differently than I was raised. Because I picked up a lot of dogma from the streets from people, telling me this and that. Because a lot of men and women have a lot of dogma which we kind of recycle. It's not true, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to raise my son to be different than the way I grew into sexuality, etc. I'm trying to figure that out. But then there's these songs that come out that kind of put me further ahead of the where I want to be, like the song Munch. I mean, like I gotta have that conversation at some point. I would have never had that conversation with my father 30 years ago.
And you know what, Ishmael, I'll be honest with you, because I'm still raising my son. He's 20. And I'll be honest with you, I did a mesh of the way I was raised, and we talk about the songs and the things that's happening right now and how girls present themselves. He tells me I'm so old school because I still use the word H when I, refer to women who don't wear clothes, which is a whore. He goes, that is just so ancient. But back in my day, that's what you called women. She's loose, whatever. But the thing is that I think there's a good transition. But this is the issue as a single woman. There's a lot of men my age dating those younger girls. And then they come back to somebody my age and they're expecting us to be doing everything that 30-year-old is doing.
Keep up.
Them.
Keep up.
But see, that's the thing, Cedric. Should we be keeping up with them? Should we? Why?
Huh?
That's unrealistic.
Why is that?
Because I'm 51. I can't be jumping off no poles and doing all of this turning and twisting.
We ain't asking for that. We're not asking for like no acrobatics. It's like I'm saying, when I call, answer.
What is
when
that?
I say ready, you go. That's all. Ain't no acrobatics.
I never liked younger women, even when I was young.
Well, it's a large population of men who are going in that direction. Trust me.
But I understand, though. You're right. You're right.
God bless them.
It's a lot.
Good luck.
But now, the answer to that question, I don't think none of you females will want to hear, because I tell you what it is, and it was in a movie, with I can't think of it right now. The name, he's gonna hit me though. But they were in a hotel room, a suite, and it was a bachelor party.
And what did they say, Cedric, that you don't want to say? Can we get? I don't need the backdrop. I just need to know.
He said, "Y'all know, ain't nothing better than some pussy. That's some new pussy."
Really? So that's basically what men think.
Excuse me?
The single men in general, that's what their thoughts are about women that were interchangeable?
No, I mean, you asked the question. That's it. It's always something newer, better. Newer is better. Yes, newer is better.
Wow.
I don't believe that.
That's my personal belief. I'm just saying how it is. I'm saying how it is.
A young man, I don't think so.
I'm going to be honest with you. That's the reason why you guys are here, to have a real conversation. because women watch this podcast and they do want to understand how men think and they process things, because I think women are very nurturing innately, and they're connecting with these men, not understanding that perhaps you may be with a person who feels that you're interchangeable. But it goes back to what Galen said. You know, you meet no one but me, which is yourself. You're meeting yourself. And so maybe that's a part of you that you're meeting. So guys, give me 1 second. We'll be right back after this last commercial break. And we're going to continue this conversation. But our last conversation is going to be on how do you tell a person that they're not pleasing you intimately?
And I want to pick up just one point before we get to that after the commercial.
Break. You got it. We'll be right
back. Best Man Holiday. That's the movie. Best Man Holiday.
Hey guys, welcome back to the last segment of the 5 F's to Love, Talk with the Men. On our last segment, before we go into that segment, we're going to have each of the men share with you how you would communicate with your partner. A lot of times you need to be very sensitive about telling a person that maybe they're not doing what's needed to make you happy intimately, sexually. And there's a way of going about doing it. And so we want these men, so you can see in a relationship what should be said to you and what may not be said to you. And then maybe you can have that conversation with them. But before we go into that, Galen, I want to pick up with you and your thoughts on our last segment.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've noticed that you've consistently said through the course of these shows is about, women want to nurture, women want to connect, etc. I think that that's an assumption based upon your consciousness. Nobody is all one thing. To assume that all these women want to connect and nurture and whatever, and all women have pure intentions is ridiculous, and it is a lie that promotes the guy being the villain in the conversation. When there's a lot of guys that want to connect, there's a lot of guys that want intimacy, there's a lot of guys that want something deeper. It's not I just think that you come from the assumption that that's the woman's spot because that's how you move as a woman of integrity. But I don't think that's the space when you got women that's out here that's shaking dudes down because with sugar daddies. You talking about all the men are going for these young women. These women are going for these dudes that have resources.
That's right. That's right.
Expendable income. They're willing to jump through hoops to be able to have supported lifestyles. There are people out there that are manipulating, using their looks, using their sexuality, using their sex to be able to get things out of men. It's not always just a conversation about women want to connect, women want intimacy, women want something deeper, women want this, women want that. There's no that woman doesn't exist. Women are individuals.
Preach on, preacher.
Just like guys. Some people want the quick thing. Some people want the deeper thing. Some people are manipulative. Some people are controlling. Some people are loving. Some people are supportive. It's not one thing. So I'm not coming at you, Christine. I'm coming at the paradigm.
Pass the plate.
I'm coming at the paradigm that there's, that these women are just encountering these guys, and not even acknowledging that maybe some of the times the reason why they're meeting these guys that are quote unquote hitting and quitting it or wanting them to jump through hoops is because they're really engaging in the relationship, if you want to call it that, out of fear of being alone, of fear of not being able to have their needs met, fear of they'll grow old alone, and all different type of things that people just don't want to have real conversations about. So by the time it gets to the sexual thing and it don't work out, then people want to make it about that versus what's going on in their own souls. So I got
that's what you call the gospel truth. The gospel truth.
Yeah, Galen, I'm at 100% in support of what you're saying. And you're right. That is my paradigm because I am that kind of person. And you're right. I don't really understand the other side, but you're right. It is a lot of women out there who are doing that. 100%. So you're right. And I'm all about being fair in conversations. And I definitely don't ever want to paint men as being a villain in this situation because y'all know I'm equal. I'm a neutral. So I'm in the middle. So I definitely like that perspective. And you're right. Women do need to pay more attention to what it is that they're associating themselves with and what they're bringing into their lives, because it does play out in a lot of different ways. So what was your perspective on that, Ishmael?
We know what you made of. We know what you made of.
Sorry about that. No, my thing, it got stuck. My cue got stuck. Go ahead.
My perspective is that what I've seen, I have a buddy who's, late 50s, who's single, and I kind of live vicariously through him. He tells me all his stories. I met this girl, and this is what happened. And what I find is a lot of women in their 50s, I'm surprised are they act like they're 18-year-olds. The stories that he's told me, the things that he's done with these women, I'm like, she did that with you in the back of the car? I was surprised that these women were the age that they were. I mean, they're doing things that I wouldn't even do when I was 21, and these people have kids, they're grown women. So there is a disconnect between like information out there and as far as all age groups, not just young people, also women in our generation. But I don't know. It just seems like there's a huge disconnect out there. I don't know why, but there is.
Women in their 50s, we're at our sexual peak. So you guys are in your peak in your 20s and your 30s, and we hit ours at our 50. When you guys are going down, we're going up. And that's why a lot of women my age tend to go out with men who are younger, because they're at our sexual peakness equal, not intellectually, just sexually. And so when you do find a man that's in their 50s or 60s who can match you sexually, you just kind of roll with them because you're just excited that they can handle your demand, your sexual demand. But but the thing is, outside of that, and what I wanted to say was that when you're in a relationship and a person is not meeting those needs, that's a tough conversation to have with somebody, whether you're married to them or dating them. So go ahead.
Well, Christine, I'm going to push back on your statement about the women-men dynamic.
The peak?
Because
why is that?
Because I've been counseling people for 20 plus years.
Oh, so for some women, I'm willing to say this.
Let me complete my statement though. To a couple,
yeah,
it's always the man saying that the woman's sexual prowess and desire goes down. To a couple, I've never, hear me what I'm saying, okay? And I've been a minister for 20 years, and I was doing ministry, other things, teaching and preaching and other before that. To a couple, I've never met a couple that said at this age range or older or younger, where it was the woman that was saying, he just won't touch me, he won't whatever, and I'm trying to do this. Is always
I think because some of them
saying that thing always, and I've been putting that on the table as data.
So menopause and
so thank you, brother.
Data, so a couple things. Historically, the peak for women hit their sexual peak is in their 50s. But at the same time, a lot of women go through menopause and it does hit them differently, right? And so when you hit menopause, a lot of things happen to your body. And so therefore, it does affect all of us differently. But I will say this, that the group, my little small group, and y'all know I don't hang out with a lot of women, my little small group, these folks are some cougars, Okay, they're hot, they're cougars, and they will rip you. Okay, now outside of my group, I don't know, but you're right, and I do know some people who go through menopause and they're total opposite. They don't even care about having sex. It's not even on their radar.
I'm talking premenopause. Yep. I'm talking about when you get husbands together.
Right.
Okay.
What are they saying?
When you get, we used to have a class.
Y'all ain't dancing, y'all ain't stripping.
Yeah. We used to have a class of guys. We had a men's ministry class, and we used to have 120 guys meet. We met for 15 weeks straight. To a man, all of the guys that were older all said, what happens when we get married? The woman that I married, who was active, engaging, considerate when it came to sex, turned it off to army rations after they got married. Now here's the thing. Now, guys,
I can't answer that.
Left,
okay.
right, left.
Okay. See, here's the thing. And when you get a group of guys together and they're all saying the same thing, okay, I think it's some value in that information, regardless of the money level,
right?
The career,
they're all saying
the time and whatever. And to a man, they were all saying the same thing.
Well, let me ask you a question, Galen. Did any
whether
of them
they were
have
25
children?
and married or 65 and married?
No, let me
when
ask
they
you a
got
question.
the woman, she changed.
Okay. Well, here's the question: did all of those people have children? Did they have children?
Again?
Did they have children together?
Many of them did, yes.
Okay, so let me explain to you from a woman's perspective what happens. Your relationship one-on-one is always great till you bring kids into it. Once you bring kids into it, then you're split between being and now a mother and still being a lover. And sometimes you just tired. So if you working all day, you come home, you the mother, you cleaning house, you doing the laundry, and then I got to be a lover. I'm exhausted. That's
all
not
I hear is excuses.
fact.
Excuses.
Right? So, and I'm going to tell you, real talk, I totally 100% agree with you. That does impact a marriage when you have all of those things happening in real time, right? So wait a minute. So Cook said it sounds like the couples that were what's it? Curse?
Reignite.
What is it? Curse?
Counsel.
Glasses on. Need to learn how to
reignite the fire.
Reignite the fire in a relationship. I think it's more than just reigniting the fire in a relationship. And Roz is watching. She said, Chris, you're 100% right. I think it's the woman. She just gets tired. I don't think it's that she doesn't want to. And the other thing is too, women don't see themselves sexually desirable after they've had children. And men don't even know that. But in our minds, we think that.
But that's what the man himself plays a big part in that. I mean, you have to be, even though you may have kids, kids do put a strain on relationships. But in that strain to put on relationships, you gotta, if you have family, you have a support system. You have to utilize the support system to keep the date. You have to continue dating. Dating is what starts the whole thing, and dating does not stop once you get married. It continues on and on. That time you spend with that your wife, your buddy, your friend, whatever you want to call it, it's important. You got to continue getting away. The kids are important, but take them to grandma, get a babysitter, do what you got to do. You got to continue dating. Dating does not stop. When the dating stops after you've gotten married, that's when the fire goes out. You got to keep it lit. That's the only.
That's right.
And it does become a struggle because if you got two people going to work every day, you now have 1, 2, 3, 4 kids. You got a household. You got outside. It's a lot. And then you're trying to keep that fire burning. Go ahead, Ish.
Yeah, but dating doesn't have to be going out. Like when I was in my 20s, I went out to restaurants all the time, and for work and also for pleasure, for dating. I'm tired of going to restaurants. It's not fun for me anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to do other things I like just doing simple things. I'm a homebody now. I don't really like doing a lot of those things, and so intimacy can be developed through just sitting and watching TV, watching binging on a television show. So, honestly, I mean, maybe I'm doing a lot of things wrong, but as far as the dating aspect, I mean, I don't like to go. I'm a homebody now. I used to be out there in the clubs and in the restaurants, and now I'm just,
I think the real issue is all the guys are saying that there has to be a connection. And here's the thing. When we go back to the commitment and the covenant, okay, part of a marriage, at least from a marriage standpoint, and I know couples are not always marriage, but if you want to put committed relationship into this conversation, is that unless there's some other agreements, some alternative agreements going on, that people do have certain types of lifestyles that they've committed to take care of the needs of the other person. And part of the problem comes into play is when you detach from the commitments you've made with individuals. So from a man's perspective, and I'm not saying it's right by no stretch of the imagination, but I said this yesterday to you. A guy can get to the space to where they're not getting intimacy, no kisses, no hugs, no sex, no nothing. Everything you do is wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And then they bump into somebody at the health club, at the job, at the social event, who laughs at all their jokes, that thinks that they're smart, thinks or whatever. Most times when guys have affairs, it's emotional. It's not about looks. It's emotional. Okay, it's because somebody with female energy is connecting to them. You know, because women will say things like, "I can't believe he cheated on me with her. Look at her." Without even realizing that it's not about that. It's about the connection that person made. So when people say, well, can you love more than one person at the same time? Absolutely. Because the compromise gets now, obviously, I'm not justifying it or saying it's right by no stretch of the imagination. But before that decision, unless it's just a doggish dude or a doggish woman, before that decision to go out and do something outside of your relationship happens, that process has been played over in the mind like a movie 100 times before the action ever actually happens. And people don't like to stop and acknowledge that's actually happening. That's the story behind the story. And when men try to communicate sometimes those needs, they get the script that you just gave. And here's the thing. They get the script.
Galen Ross said, women feel the same. Women have affairs for the same reason.
It's connection.
And then she said most men seek physical affairs, which is true. So I'm going to tell you guys, before we get to everybody having affairs.
Emotional affair does not mean they don't have sex. What I'm saying is the reason why they have sex is not purely because of outer looks. It's because a connection was made.
It's an emotional connection.
That's what I'm saying.
And I agree with you. I think people do have affairs for emotional connections. But before, and I'm going to be honest with you, you guys know this platform is all about keeping relationships together, having open communication. So each one of you, as we close out, I just want you to talk to whomever you want to talk to and just tell them why something is not working. Okay, as a man, so that women can understand these are conversations that you can have, and a man can have this conversation with a woman in a respectful way, Cedric. In a respectful way. So, Brian, I'm gonna start with you. And I'm not Cedric, I'm telling you, you are a handful. All right, Cedric, how would you tell a woman in a respectful way that you guys are not connecting intimately or sexually?
I'll be real nice about it. I would enter the conversation not to be mean, but I'd be really nice about it and ask her, tell her things I like and ask her things that she like, and just try to meet some common ground. And I will continue saying it. And at some point in time, you get tired of saying it because either they're not listening or you're not something they're interested in themselves. That's how I would do it.
I like that. Okay, thank you. All right, so Ishmael, how would you tell your spouse or your partner that you wanted to do something different or something's not working?
Well, my spouse is easy. I just say, we should try this and do this. But if I was dating somebody, I mean, I wouldn't put that effort in. I just move on to the next person.
I just want to say, you guys, I shouldn't laugh because I know what you're saying is true, but it's just the way you say it. It's just so matter of fact. That's
just too much communication when you're not, committed to each other. Move on to the next. I ain't got time for all that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, Cedric, how would you approach that?
What was the question again?
Really?
What was the question again?
How would you communicate to a person that you're not sexually satisfied with them?
I stopped answering the phone calls.
Okay. I can't. I can't. Why? Why is Cedric like that? So, Galen, from your years of marriage counseling, what is the best approach when you find that couples or individuals are not connecting intimately or sexually in a relationship? What is the best approach for them to use?
Okay, I think it starts off with first of all, having a time where you can talk honestly and in a calm manner. Sometimes people have to try to have these conversations when they're agitated, or they bring topics to somebody when they're unprepared to talk about them. So I just try to get people to do things like, okay, is this a good time to talk? If not, when would be a good time to talk? You don't leave it there. Okay, that gives people an opportunity to know that, okay, it's a conversation that matters to me is coming up. Okay, instead of blindsiding people with things. 2, are you saying it in a tactful way? Does it land as I feel, I experience versus attack language that can make a
Right.
person feel devalued in the relationship? If what you're saying is going to harm, I'm not saying you got to sugarcoat it. Don't get the wrong idea.
Right.
But what I am saying that tactfulness does matter, compassion does matter, because this is a person that you committed to, and hopefully you want to be able to communicate with love and understanding to let them know these are some of the things I need, because this is how I desire to experience you. And
Exactly.
and is it a way we can find some middle ground around this process? 3, start with the simple things. Get back to the simple stuff. You walk past your spouse, you hug, kiss, caress, touch, nice text, whatever. People are so disconnected in my work, my children, my world, my this, that, and other, that they stop doing the thing that got the person in the first place.
First place.
See, there's a thing of getting a person, and then there's a thing of maintaining, and then there's a thing called enhancing. If you're not, so most relationships fall apart because the maintenance isn't being done. Okay, the lack of consideration in it, and that means that the relationship starts to crumble, not all at once, but brick by brick. And once a person gets resigned to this is the way it is, then they start looking at the front door, whether they actually do it or they don't. And I would say the last thing would be, obviously, as you again communicate. But just ask in real time. Okay. And I mentioned this to you, I think, a couple of shows ago on our,
the check-in.
The check-in. On a scale of 1 to 10, how have you experienced me as a husband?
I like that
How
one.
have you experienced me as a wife this week? And if it isn't a 10, what would it take to get it to a 10?
Exactly. I like that.
That question makes a person ponder. That doesn't mean that you always got to jump through hoops for a person, but at least allows you to check in and see how you're being perceived in the relationship and what you can do to make it better. What? So that would be my answer.
I like that.
Besides listening to these podcasts.
Besides listening to podcasts. Listen, guys, I know part of this conversation was uncomfortable because it was talking about men's health as it relates to erectile dysfunction. And the thing is, I knew it was going to be difficult, but I wanted to have a real conversation with you guys because your health is important. And as Galen stated, especially for Black men, that's one of your superpowers. That's that thing that makes you who you are. And when that's not working, that intimacy changes in a relationship. It changes the dynamics. So one, I want every man watching this, and if you haven't watched it, I want all you guys to share this episode because I want men to really look at their health, and it's so important. I want to try to keep our relationships in our community together, and this is one of the main things that's going to keep us solid. If our men are healthy, then we're, as women, we're going to be healthy. We're going to be happy, right? Because that's what it starts. If our men are healthy, we're healthy and we're happy. So guys, focus on that. Make sure you get checked out for prostate cancer. That's so important. And make sure you just go to the doctor. Brian's going to give me a list of all the natural things that you can do to focus on men's sexual health. And I want you guys to start looking at your diets. I know we may have grown up on that fried chicken. You saw Cedric lose a little bit on that fried chicken. But folks, we got to start eating healthier. and be healthier people. Listen, this platform is about having.
Tell your babe stop calling you, Brian. You on a podcast.
Oh, hush, Cedric.
Tell your babe stop calling you, man. You on a podcast.
You hear that text message coming in? Oh my God, you your ears.
We've been hearing it.
So Ishmael, thank you so much for joining us. We would love for you to come back. I love your contribution.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
And I'm going to tell you guys, I really appreciate you guys having this tough conversation with me about just the intimacy in men's health. That's really important to me. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. And everybody watching, if you like this episode, please like and share the podcast platform, and please subscribe to all of our social media sites. We want to make sure that our community stays connected to how to keep stronger, healthier, more beautiful relationships. It's all about keeping us together because we're better when we're together. All right, guys, see you next week.
Good night.
We know what you made of. I do better offline, yeah. I've been calling to a guy. I'm in tune with the signs. I'm just trying to let go. I'm just trying to be me. I ain't trying to do Moon landed with the elevation. Arm strong with the levitation. My third eye needed calibration. That was heat rock when I notated. I've been going crazy. Stone face when I kill beat. Leaving no trace on location. Premeditated. Ayy.